area that's been indicated, as you've talked about, language, law, accounting, then you're coming in under the diversified program. And I think that the other category is the cyber or computer sciences area that I talked about.
Okay. And I think you've kind of already answered this question, but when I have students in class who are very specific, because I'll ask them what they want to do with their degree, and I'll have 2 or 3 students normally out of a class group who will say the FBI is where I'm headed. I'll talk to them about their choice of a major. And I teach criminal justice. I'm not anti-criminal justice, but I often recommend some of the degrees that you've been talking about, accounting or something like that, mathematics, physical sciences, if that's where they want to head. And I recommend that for a number of other reasons as well. But my question for you is, do you think that's good advice?
I think that's very good advice. Computer sciences degrees, like I've said, finance degrees, the physical sciences, that's what the FBI is looking for. I know that anecdotally that we get a tremendous number of candidates with criminal justice degrees. And again, in order to differentiate yourself, a great way to do that is to have a degree in one of these other areas. Again, computer science, as I've indicated, appears to be the degree to have here for the years ahead.
So it sounds like if there's one skill we can pick that the FBI is seeking right now, it's going to be the computer skills.
That's where if anybody, and again, you're asking me, but anybody that comes to me and says, what do I need to do to position myself to be a strong candidate for the FBI, I tell them to get a computer science degree, something in the information technology. If they can get a master's degree in that same area, that's better yet.
Okay. Now, for the student who says, I'm sticking with criminal justice, I'm going to major in criminal justice, I'm going to get a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, what can they do to make themselves stand out?
As we've talked about before, get a master's degree.
Okay.
Go off and get a master's degree in any number of areas. They can join the military to get work experience. They can go out and learn a specialty. A specialty might be they go get a pilot's license. Maybe they learn a language with some proficiency. An exceptional work history. If there's someone out there that has been outstanding in every regard in the field that they're working, that helps as well.
Okay. Now, in law enforcement, in municipal law enforcement, the world that I come from, when we're hiring a candidate or there's a candidate going through the process to become a police officer, and we conduct our background and investigations, we conduct our polygraphs, we accept some previous run-ins with the law. We accept some previous low levels of drug use. How does that compare to the FBI? Does the FBI, are they willing to hire candidates who've had any arrests or any, say, misdemeanor citations or any drug use in the past?
Yes. Misdemeanor citations, yes, the FBI will still consider you for employment. Major misdemeanors will oftentimes preclude you from employment with the FBI. Obviously, felony arrests, felony convictions will eliminate you as a candidate for the FBI. There is a certain amount of drug use now that's allowed. Folks that have used marijuana and have not used it in the previous 3 years are eligible for employment with the FBI. With other drugs other than marijuana, the policy changes at times. So I'm not sure I'm comfortable in terms of talking about what the specifics are with drugs of other than marijuana. But if a student has a question and they have a drug use or have used different types of drugs before and have an interest in the FBI, I would suggest that they contact the applicant coordinator for the division, for the respective division that they're in. And be very upfront about what their past and past use history may be. And the applicant coordinators will work with that person.
Right. I mean, they don't want to devote 6 or 8 years of education specifically to becoming an FBI agent only to find out they're ineligible from.
Correct.
some test
Yes.
cases. Okay. So for a candidate who's going through the hiring process, what is that like? What does that entail?
Well, it can be a fairly long process. It starts oftentimes with an online application now, where the candidate will go to the FBI.gov website. They fill out a very short questionnaire. There's some vetting that's done with the information that they provide. And then if they have the skills or are from an area that the FBI is looking to hire from, they'll be invited to take what we call phase one testing. Phase one testing is a written examination. Looks an awful lot like the SAT or the LSAT or something like that, where you go in and you spend 3 or 4 hours answering questions, multiple choice. After that, if you pass phase one, oftentimes you'll be invited for phase two testing. Phase two testing is a panel interview where FBI agents interview the prospective candidate. There's also a written handwriting exercise that goes with that on the same day. And that's sitting down and putting old school pen to paper and writing various narratives based on scenarios that are presented. The FBI is looking at how you write. So there's not a spell check, there's not a grammar thing that corrects your grammar. It's sitting down and doing it the old-fashioned way. If you pass phase two, then a number of things happen. You'll have a background investigation that it's a very extensive, exhaustive background investigation. There'll be a physical fitness test and a physical. There's also a polygraph and a security interview that'll go through and ask you a number of questions to vet that particular person to see if they can be a candidate with the FBI.
And how many times can a person attempt to get hired by the FBI? How many times can a candidate go through the process if they're unsuccessful the first time?
Depends on at what phase that candidate may fall out of the process. If the candidate is invited and takes phase one and fails it, they can take it twice before they're eliminated from applying again. I believe it's the same with phase two as well. If you get into phase two and you don't pass phase two the first time, I believe you can do it a second time and apply. With the physical fitness testing, you're given 3 tries. But if you don't pass the third time, you're no longer eligible to be a candidate for the FBI. If at any time during a background, if there's derogatory information developed during your background, or if you fail a polygraph, you're eliminated for your ability to be hired by the FBI.
Okay. And is that very frequent? Do you know many agents who failed to get hired on their first attempt but came back and kept trying and then ultimately became an agent?
I know several. And some folks have really put a tremendous amount of time and effort. They've wanted to be FBI agents. They haven't been discouraged or deterred by the fact that they may have failed phase one or phase two. They've stayed with it. They've come in and they've had very productive careers.
So I guess the moral of that story is if it's what you want to do, don't give up.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about the FBI Academy in Quantico. How long does it last, and what is life like when you're going through the academy?
Well, the FBI Academy, it's been many years since I've been there as a student, but when I went through it was 16 weeks. It's currently 20 weeks. When you go to the FBI Academy at Quantico, you live there. You live in dorms. It's a experience where the basics for law enforcement, the basics of law, of writing effective reports, of interviewing, of working crime scenes, of performing intelligence investigations, performing criminal investigations. You're giving exposure to all of that. And it's a tremendous learning experience. The training that you receive is top-notch, and I believe it's second to none. And it gives a very firm foundation for when an FBI agent arrives in the field to work from. But once they get out of Quantico and they come out to the field, there's a tremendous amount of learning that goes on. Once they get out to the field, they're given a training officer, just like they would at the Boise Police Department or many of the municipalities, and they learn from that training officer from a number of years before they're really deemed completely proficient to some degree. So that's kind of the training program. But to get back to your Quantico experience, it's a little bit like the military and a little bit like college, kind of all mixed together.
Okay. And an FBI agent, after 20 years of service, is eligible for retirement. Is that correct?
Yes,
And so 1996, so you're approaching.
I am.
So you have almost a full career to reflect back on. Would you recommend a career in the FBI?
Absolutely, I would. And the reason I say that is to make a difference. You can, I think one of the things that attracts people to the FBI are people that want to make a difference. During the early days at Quantico, in every class, they have the prospective special agent, the special agent in training, stand up and say, why did you join the FBI? And it's a very rare occasion that that person doesn't stand up and say, I want to make a difference. And in the FBI, you can make a difference at a local level, you can make a difference at the national level, and in some cases at the truly the international and world level. And there's a tremendous satisfaction with that in being able to make a difference in such a way.
Okay. And so that's kind of the end of the questions I have about becoming a special agent. Now I do have a few more questions about you, or for you, about other positions in the FBI. But before I move on, is there anything else that you would want to add in terms of recommendations to students who want to become a special agent?
I think we've talked about it a little bit, but if you want to become a special agent, if that's your goal in life, go out, get the best background and education that you can get, as we've talked about. You have to have a very clean background. So you want to stay out of trouble. You want to keep, you want to, in anything you do, if it's working construction during the summer, if it's working in Walmart, if it's working with a local police department, you want to show a pattern of success and that you've done very well in those fields. I tell everybody with the FBI, we hire very well. Our most precious asset by far is the people we hire in all capacities, whether it's special agents, intelligence analysts, operations specialists, surveillance people. We do a very good job hiring. So again, I would emphasize that people work hard, keep out of trouble, and if it's their dream, really get after it, and don't give up.
Thank you. Okay, for our students who have this strong interest in the FBI, but being a special agent, carrying a weapon, making arrests, doing those types of things are not what they want to pursue, or for one reason or another, they're not going to be able to make it through the recruitment process for that. What civilian positions, if you will, in the FBI exist, and what can our students pursue if they want to work for the FBI but not in that law enforcement capacity?
Well, there's a number of positions. In fact, the FBI is composed mostly of non-agent positions. So of our close to 30,000 employees, the majority, the vast majority are non-agent positions. For people that are interested in being intelligence analysts, being special operations specialists, that encompasses a lot of different meanings in the FBI, but working in a variety of capacities in casework and intelligence work. We have computer specialists and cyber specialists who are not agents. We have people that are photographers and trained photographers. We have media specialists. We have electronics technicians that deal with radio communications, We've got forensic accountants. We have, the list goes on and on. Our lab is full of non-agent personnel who are forensic examiners and criminalists doing cutting-edge lab work. So we have scientists of all types in the FBI's. We have forensic anthropologists. We have graphic artists. So if you have a specialty, it's likely you're going to see that in the FBI with the way that we operate. So there's a broad array of jobs and specialties that are sought after and employed by the FBI.
And my understanding of the special agent position is that you get assigned a duty station while you're at Quantico, and that's where you're going to go live for a period of time, and then you're probably going to move to another area of the country or another territory of the United States, maybe even outside of the country. For the non-agent positions, do they have the same type of movement, or are they geographically centered and staying in one location?
Oftentimes, they're geographically centered. They stay in one location. There's not a requirement for many of the professional support staff to move. That is a requirement for a special agent. So it should be a point of consideration if you're considering being a special agent, but you don't want to move. Because the FBI, when they hire the special agent, there's in your contract says you can be moved and assigned anywhere at the needs of the FBI. Oftentimes, professional support positions aren't like that. But at the same time, depending on advancement and professional advancement, professional fulfillment for many of the professional support staff, they may have to move in order to promote or to get to another area that they're interested in. So it can be limited to some degree if you don't.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for spending the time with us today. For our students who are seeking further information about the FBI, about the positions, where would you recommend they go?
Well, I would recommend first that they go to the internet. Most of the students will be familiar with the internet and going to the FBI.gov's website. And that will direct them to the various jobs and positions that are available and provide information on those positions. For more specific information and to have interaction with a person, I would suggest that they contact their local FBI office, and they can be directed from there to the applicant